Okay, now I like to put oil in the motor. So we're going to put the 70 weight in there right now. See a little bit of motor honey, nice and thick. So we're going to put it on top of the connecting rod here to lubricate that really well. Put half of it in there. Working in there like that a little bit. Make sure she's well lubed. See how the flywheels are in oil down there now? So you turn this motor over, it'll flood oil in the motor. Okay, that's well lubed. Trash. Cover up your containers when you're done so you don't get dirt and crap in there. Kind of important. Okay, we haven't lubricated our wrist pin bushings yet, so that's the next thing we got to do. Don't want those to be dry. Okay. So now you put the front one on or the back one on first. Doesn't really matter which one you do. So we'll use whatever this one is. This is the notches in the back, which means it's the rear. So if you hold the motor like that, you got good control. But you're on the wrong side of the bike because the wrist pin comes up from this side, see? Let me turn the motor over this way. Now it's easier to do the front cylinder first. So we've got the front cylinder. Let's see, notch in the front of the cylinder. We're on the wrong side of the bike though, so we gotta flip this around the other way like that. Now the wrist pin's on the correct side. Angle the rod lightly. Stick it on there like that. Poke it in. Let it come down. You're sitting. So that'll hold it. It won't stay forever like this, but it'll stay pretty good like this because you're up in the wrist pin pretty far on that. You see how the wrist pin just slides right on in there like that. So we throw a towel over this so nothing drops in the hole. The gasket is already on here, so we don't have to worry about not having a gasket. So all that works pretty good. We do have to put the pin in there, or the clip in there, I mean. So we're going to cover up the motor here a little bit. So nothing goes dink, dink, dink in the motor. Okay, we got to put our spiral lock in here. So I hold it like that so you get access to it, but see I'm not over bending it. It springs right back. So now I'm going to put this in the groove over here just like we did before. So now I'm going to be fighting things a little bit more, but so you get the tail up in there like that. And just kind of push it on in there. Just go around in a circle. It'll go pop here, and you hear it. Hear the pop. Make sure you're in there all the way. Take a light and make sure it looks like it is completely in there where it belongs. Looks good. So you want to make sure the clip is all the way in there. Like I said, if you can see more than half that clip, it's not in all the way. It should be equal all the way around. We're good. You can see how the wrist pin is a little bit short. See how much end play they got in that thing? It's quite a bit. It's more than I like to see really, but that's genuine Harley. That's how they did it back then, I guess. Okay, so this one's all on there now. So now it's just ready to slide down. We just got to put a little lubrication on the skirts here. You never want to put those in dry. The sides don't hit, so you don't need to lubricate the sides, just the front and the back. Okay, I just take my fingers, hold there, and drop the cylinder down. Wiggle a little bit, slide it down. Just roll the motor down. Oh, I forgot to lubricate the... I forgot to do something. The gasket ain't gonna want to come up though. Oh well, we'll deal with it later. Okay, that goes down. If I shove the cylinder back up, we'll tear the gasket. I forgot to put lubricant on the threads there. Always like putting a little bit of oil on the threads to let the hardware torque easier. It'll also keep them rusting for a little while. Another plus. Alright. So now we'll go ahead and put our base nuts on here. Out of view. Okay, your nut has a little bit of a shoulder right here, and this is more rounded on the top. The top is rounded. You can see that sharp edge right there, that's the base, it goes below. That leaves you like a little washer built into the nut. So that keeps the hex part of the nut from tearing into your cylinder. Gives you more even torque. I don't know if you can see it's how it's cut. Okay, it has that cut to it. That is the proper way to put a nut down. Okay, now before you torque anything down, double check to make sure your piston's in correctly. Your cylinder probably going to be dictated by going on the motor, it's on correctly there. So on this piston, doesn't matter which way we go, but obviously it's a front piston because it says F on it, so we know it's sized correctly. Oil there. So you want to make sure, it's your last check to make sure everything's correct. If you see the big valve pocket on the front and not in the back of the piston there, then that means you got it upside down, if it was a later piston. This piston doesn't matter really, but doesn't hurt to check. Okay. Off the excess oil there. Messy. Okay, now before I tighten the cylinders up, I always rotate them toward the inside. So that means you twist them like this on this cylinder, on this one you twist it the other way. So the exhaust pipes basically are going inward. So you have a certain amount of clearance here. See? So I always go that direction. You tighten down that spot. Pressure on that's fine. Now the reason you do that is because you have the head on there. Right here, the head. When you rotate it this way, the manifold gets closer together. When you want it to go that way, it gets... Excuse me. When you rotate, you gotta look at it from the top view. It's hard to see. You got your manifold right here. You got to fit your manifold up. If you rotate the cylinder out, the manifold spreads further apart. If you rotate the cylinder inward, it gets closer. So I always put the cylinder as close as I can, and then if I got to move the head back and forth, I'll move it. That's my preferred way. 9 times out of 10, that works. The other 10, it needs to go the other way. So you just got to deal with it. So you have to fit the manifold. If you don't line up your manifold, it will leak. Okay, torqued. Torquing that one. Turn it around. aren't full tight, but they got some torque on them. Okay, now I'm going to do this one here. Once again, I want the rod to be laying back slightly from where it is. About that angle there works good. Okay, now we take this one. Same thing, you put in there like that. Line up the wrist pin, jiggle around until it lines up. Put constant pressure until it goes in. You'll find the sweet spot where it wants to sit. Cover up your hole down there. And we'll put another clip in. Okay, pretty good. Okay, that one's in. See, another thing you can look at, you got two layers there. If one layer is higher than the other, that means it's not in, either up that way or that way. They want to be equal. So you want to make sure they're both equal and in all the way in. There you go. That's pretty good. That one's good. So it goes a lot quicker when the motor's pistons aren't rolling all over the workbench when you're trying to put the clips in. See? These are a lot easier to put together in a stupid Evo or twin cam. You get those stupid studs sticking up in the way. You got to fight it. These are so much easier to work on. I like these motors a lot better. They're made to be worked on. Okay, now we just jiggle around a little bit. It slides right down. Once you get down a little bit, then you can turn the motor over. Get it to go in. There you go. So if you're fighting something, you know, you're probably doing something wrong. So same thing. Get the oil off my hands there. Okay, so now we're gonna put our 4 nuts over here on this one. So you can just see in the light which one is the bottom. And that nut's gonna go on hard. It's gonna take a while. Okay, so that one goes this way. Yeah, all that oil up in there. See, I always touch it with my hand after I held the piston. See. Makes a big mess. Okay, got the same clearance. This time we rotate forward toward the inside. See? Just put steady pressure on the cylinder while I'm doing it. Okay, once you got tension on it, it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, this one's going to go a little slower. Okay, now you start torquing a little bit. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is turn the motor over there and see if it works. So we got two options. We can use the kicker over here to do it, or we can use the crank over here to do it. Right there, off that crank right there. I'm going to use this. Alright, tools. That's the one. Okay, now, if you use the crank over to do it, the kicker, the motor turns over in normal direction. That will make all that oil go in the primary cam cover over there. I want to keep all that oil I put in the crank. If you turn the motor backwards, it'll stay in the crank. It won't go over the other side. So we're going to turn the motor over backwards. So you want to make sure there's no hitting at the bottom of the stroke. Sometimes if you got big oversized pistons, the piston will hit each other down here at the bottom when it goes all the way down. So you rotate the motor around, you want to make sure everything goes all the way down. There's no mark, no hit mark down here, so you get noise like that, you'd want to hear. So anyway, once they go back around, they're fine again. So this is breaking our motor in right now. Okay, that's how you break your motor in. Okay. See how the rings are making marks? It's breaking it in. Okay, now the excess oil on top, you can see how it all lubricated up the top. Wipe that off. That's excess oil you don't need. There you go. And a stroke around there. So now you just wipe it off one more time. You're wiping heavy, not all of it off. Okay, so that all looks good. That appears to be working pretty good. So that's a good sign. Scooby's back. Make sure our kicker engages again, just to make sure. Sure enough, went bogus last night on us. Yep, it's working still. Just double check. Never hurts to double check. Okay, we'll put both pistons at the top dead center or close to it. That way nothing drops down in the holes when you get sitting there. It's a good spot. Okay, now I got to torque these cylinders down. So use proper torque, which is tight. That's what it says in a service book, tight. Okay, let's see how much torque we're going to really use. That's pretty good. Ah, digs in your hand, it hurts. Now in a later book, I think you're supposed to run like 32 foot-pounds or some number like that. So, you know, 40 works too. Whatever. Whatever feels good. Tight's tight. When it quits moving, it's tight. If you don't know what tight is, then you break stuff. You have to have a feel. So if things start pulling, and they quit moving. When they quit moving, they're getting pretty damn tight. That's when you stop. If it's still compressing as you're going, keep going. Okay, those have to be retorqued a couple times in the first 50 miles, but it's all right. Especially those thick gaskets, they give a lot. Okay, so there you go. Our top end's on, or at least that part's on. So that leaves the heads and rocker boxes. So there you go. All right, we'll be back. I get some more parts.